Oh shit. Okay, looks like I made it in time. How do these early chapters just come out of nowhere? They just drop in the middle of the night as if they didn't want to be reviewed. But it looks like we made it just in time. I think today, for the first time in a while, I can really say that this chapter was truly calm. Nothing too crazy happened, and it had a really peaceful and playful vibe to it. Almost like early day One Piece. If you're a bit disappointed by this, remember that the stakes can't always be super high. Otherwise, such chapters wouldn't be as amazing in the first place, right? Well, for me on the other hand, I really enjoy this kind of upbeat storytelling a lot. I feel like we've been missing it for quite some time, and it also gives us some time to breathe. In the end, it's like the beginning of a small story arc in itself after all anyway. Also, we still got a couple of very interesting insights that I really want to discuss with you guys. So let's jump right into it. Damn, I just rolled the intro without giving you guys the chance to get yourself something to drink. My bad. But you can do that now. Ready? Okay, let's go. Chapter 961 of One Piece is out, and it looks like the Oden that we got introduced to in the last chapter might not be the real Oden after all. Also, his fighting style is really reminiscent of someone we know just too well. As always, make sure to share your thoughts on this chapter in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this review, you can go full two-sword style on that like button. But now, let's get right into it. The events of this chapter focus in large parts on the defeat of the giant boar that is rampaging in the capital. We see Oden trying to take the small boar from Kinemon, who is still trying to hold onto it in the hope that it somehow pays off his debt. He either doesn't know who Oden is, or he doesn't particularly care, which I feel really underlines his rowdy nature. I really enjoyed the character development we're getting for Kinemon in this flashback already. Denjiro, on the other hand, appears to know exactly who they're dealing with. And as it turns out, like most other people, he is a big fan of Oden. Sadly enough, we're not getting any new clues in this chapter to bring some more light into the debate of who Denjiro actually is, but I'm sure we'll get there soon enough. Meanwhile, we get a good glimpse at the mountain god itself, ravaging its path toward its child, devouring houses and humans alike. I'm not sure what exactly I expected, but it turns out to simply be an enormous boar with sharp teeth. I think I can get behind this design though, because it really fits the early One Piece vibe of this chapter. Also, I wonder if it's the only one of its kind in Wano, or whether these are a common occurrence. After all, it really sounds like these creatures aren't distinguishable from real mountains most of the time. And I wonder whether Tama would be able to tame one of them with her devil fruit power. I mean, it would be pretty cool to see the young white boar again, all grown up in the current story. And since we later learned that the boar didn't actually kill anyone by eating them, couldn't they use it to maybe smuggle an army in it? Just a thought. While the mountain god Mama is wreaking havoc in the capital, Oden, Kinemon and Denjiro get interrupted by one of the samurai who had originally captured the white pig. He tells Kinemon that his comrades have all been devoured by it. But not only that, Otsuru, who they had kidnapped to blackmail Kinemon, has been eaten too. Kinemon, of course, immediately storms out to confront the beast himself. And we get a short flashback to his past relationship with Otsuru, who seems to be the only person in his life that truly cared for him and helped him out of trouble. Her scolding Kinemon with puffy cheeks for saying no one would care if he died is not only really cute, but also really heartwarming to see. I really like how their relationship is being established in this mini-arc, and it definitely shows us how Oda plans on involving us closer with the Scabbards before they face Orochi and Kaido. I personally think that the scene of the Scabbards standing alone at the coast of Wano and facing towards Onigashima will be way more impactful for all of us once we know more of their story. Anyway, to save Otsuru, Kinemon faces the mountain god on his own, putting up a decent fight against the giant beast. However, in the end, he's taken down by the boar that now kaiju style is standing in the midst of a burning city. That is of course when Oden steps in, who has closely followed the story of the samurai as well as Kinemon's fight, and now seems to have decided that the situation is worth of being resolved. He takes the piglet to get the mountain god's attention, which of course immediately results in everyone blaming him for the incident. Odin, however, can't be bothered by that. He stares down the giant pig and cuts it in half with an attack that looks just like it could be Zorro. In fact, this scene and Odin's two-sword style here look so much like the scene in chapter 937 where Zorro fights against Killer that I think it's almost impossible to assume that this is some mere coincidence. Also, we can see that both of his swords are covered in haki. So, what does Oda try to tell us with this parallel? Well, it's possible that he simply wants to show us how strong 18-year-old Odin was at that time by comparing him to Zorro now. But wouldn't it also make sense that if Denjiro was actually Zorro's master Kushiro, that he would be able to teach him some of Odin's techniques? Well, no matter how you look at it, I think the similarity here is uncanny. Once again, we can see everyone staring at Odin in awe after saving the capital single-handedly. And once again, we can see Hyogoro, who always appears to be around, but never actually does anything. I nonetheless like this character a lot, and I'm sure he will have an important role to play in this flashback. While everyone is reuniting with their loved ones that were freed from the belly of the boar, and miraculously not sliced in half by Odin's attack, Kinemon takes Otsuru into his arms. He makes up his mind to come clear with the people that the incident was his fault and not Odin's. However, before he can do so, Odin knocks him out. At the same time, he's informed by his father's advisor that he has been disowned and exiled from the capital. As such, he leaves the capital for Hakumai. And as we could expect, this is the moment that Denjiro and Kinemon decide to follow him. But the chapter isn't over yet. We still get a glimpse of Odin's arrival in Hakumai. And that involves two characters that we know just too well. First, we see Yasu, who, as we already know, is nothing like his future self. In a stern and composed manner, he receives Odin, Denjiro, and Kinemon in his castle. What is the real bummer, however, is his servant, that turns out to be no one less than Orochi himself. What? I totally didn't expect that at all. Not only is the first thing that Orochi does in this flashback to tell a lie, but he also immediately gives Odin a bad feeling about himself by throwing himself in a puddle for him to step over. And I mean, what to say, guys? Orochi, being the former servant of Yasu, makes his execution look so much more impactful than we all thought it was anyway. It gives the entire scene a completely new perspective. How did that awkward and quirky looking young man end up meeting Kaido, overthrowing Odin, and taking over Wano? But maybe he's already scheming right in this moment and putting on a mere facade towards Yasu and Odin. Nonetheless, I'm incredibly curious now what role Orochi will be playing in this flashback and how his relationship to Odin will develop. But now, let's talk about Odin. I'm not sure if you noticed it, but Oda, in my mind, really turned around the image we got of Odin in the last chapter. Yes, he definitely is crazy strong, and he definitely does whatever he wants to do, but it turns out that he actually seems to insist on doing the right thing a lot more than we thought. Taking the blame for the Mountain God incident and covering for Kinemon, while at the same time saving the city, it makes you wonder whether other incidents in the past were not also a mere misunderstanding, where Odin was actually trying to do something good. Take the harem story, for example. Wouldn't it, for example, make more sense if Odin actually took just those women away from the capital that were stuck in a bad or abusive relationship? Now, the last thing I want to do is take away from his image as a complete badass, but I really think that this is what Odin is heavily implying with this chapter. That Odin actually sees himself as a sort of guardian angel of Wano, that takes the blame for bad things and protects the citizen from any harm. And in my opinion, that makes him a lot more badass than simply being a Chad. And in general, Odin being as free-spirited, mature and strong as he comes across in this chapter, I think makes him into one of the most fascinating characters in the story. But now, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this chapter. What do you think about Odin's role in the Mountain God incident? And what is your opinion about his fighting style that resembled Zoro's so much? Make sure to share it in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, make sure to like, share and subscribe to be notified for any future content of mine. Or dislike, don't share and unsubscribe. It's a free world, people. I hope to see you around next time, and until then, have a wonderful week.